I think we could title this video Tales of Shattered Credibility. What we have to understand is that we're living in the midst of what scholars call a crisis of legitimacy. We're experiencing a profound crisis of trust and confidence with virtually every single public institution, our government, our legacy media, our justice system, you name it. Gallup's polling is trust at its lowest level it's ever recorded in the modern political era. And as we'll find out here, it's for very good reason. We're now getting word that the Trump administration is about to release the Biden tapes from the Her special counsel investigation. Now, this is coming from a report from Politico that cited two Republican White House sources that revealed that the Trump administration is indeed about to drop a bombshell on D.C. and what's left of the shredded credibility of the legacy media. It involves the investigation, I'm sure you recall, of special counsel Robert Hur into whether Joe Biden mishandled classified information, which he clearly did. There were numerous classified sensitive national security materials found in multiple unsecured locations like Biden's garage that Biden unlawfully took with him during his vice presidency days. And if you recall, this was back in February of 2024. Special counsel Hur interviewed this aging, obviously dementia-ridden president, and the interview was taped, it was recorded, and Hur came away from that interview with this damning conclusion, which he wrote about in his report, where he described Biden as, quote, a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory. And that's why he wasn't going to pursue prosecution. The report revealed that Biden struggled to answer even basic questions like when he served as vice president or even the year his son Beau passed away from brain cancer. And Hur believed that a jury would find Biden, frankly, too sympathetic and wouldn't vote to convict. So there was just no point in pursuing charges, even though what he did was clearly, with the classified information, was clearly a felony. In other words, Biden simply wasn't cognitively or physically fit to stand trial, bottom line. And so when that report came out, while it didn't indict Biden, it did indeed indict both the Justice Department and the legacy media. It indicted the Justice Department because it was precisely at the same time they were prosecuting President Trump for his own classified documents scandal, as it were, which turned out to be a crime that he could not possibly constitutionally commit. Trump, as president, as the commander-in-chief, he alone had ultimate decision-making authority as to what documents are classified. Not the vice president, like Joe Biden's boxes of classified documents in his garage. No, he's not allowed to do that. No, or the Secretary of State, like Hillary Clinton. Only the president, as the commander-in-chief, has the ultimate executive authority to determine what is and what is not classified. And thus he was being accused of a crime that he legally constitutionally could not commit. This Hur report was a clear sign that the Justice Department was not merely engaged in selective prosecution. It was actually engaged in Banana Republic-style political persecution. They were excusing a crime for one man while actively inventing a crime, fabricating a crime for the other. And to make matters even worse, it was a crime, again, that was a constitutional contradiction. It was a crime that the president could not possibly constitutionally commit, regardless. The Trump administration is now reportedly poised to release those tapes. Remember, Biden did everything he possibly could to hide those tapes from the American people. That's over. Trump is about to release those tapes for everyone to hear, and in so doing, Trump is going to unleash a bombshell, particularly on the legacy media. And that's because the legacy media did absolutely everything they possibly could to try to cover up Biden's failing acuity. Here is what MSNBC and Joe Scarborough said right after the Hur report was released.
I will say that that there's no doubt in my mind that that this special prosecutor could have written the same report without using these words: elderly man with a poor memory. I'm like you, I'm a simple country journalist. I can find a lot of different ways to say this.
Yeah, you know what?
Without
I'm a
saying
simple
something
country
like that.
lawyer.
Yeah.
John, I'm a simple country lawyer, and I know. What's the headline? What should the headline from this report be? Not indicted.
Not guilty. Right.
Not the evidence to indict him. Yeah. It's not there. And the clear differences, as he wrote, between Trump and Biden. That should be.
And I would have thought, Joe.
Wait, hold on, John. Hold on, John. Do you think that this guy is so naive? You think this guy is so stupid? Do you guys think this guy is so clueless that he didn't know by putting words in that Donald Trump would love for him to put in there, that wasn't going to be the headline for the New York Post, that wouldn't be on every... The guy knew. He's a Trumper who knew.
That's Joe Scarborough doing what he does best, which is lie. Fabricating spin that protects and defends Democrats literally no matter what. And as if he could not have humiliated himself more, it was just literally weeks later when he said this.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. Mm-hmm. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And
did you see that President Trump just signed an executive order outlining his plans to create America's first national sovereign wealth fund? And it's going to need to be filled up with assets fast. Trump wants a go-live plan in the next 90 days. The Wall Street types are already focused on packing it with real estate, infrastructure, and pieces of trendy companies like TikTok. But let's not forget about gold. Sovereign wealth funds love to buy gold in bulk. Australia has been loading up. Saudi Arabia is buying the world's largest gold mine to supply itself. And even tiny Singapore recently added more than 100 metric tons of gold to its vaults. Now, can you imagine what could happen to the per ounce price of gold, which has already been surging sky high since Trump took office, if America's new sovereign wealth fund followed international best practices and made gold a part of its diversified portfolio? It would potentially make our country a brand new mega buyer in an already tight market. And when there's limited supply and huge demand, the impact on prices, well, let's just say you're going to want to be ready. And there's a simple way to get ready, too. It's all laid out for you in the free gold report from my partners at TurleyTalksLikesGold.com. You want to request your copy right away. After all, President Trump has put the world on notice. A new sovereign wealth fund for America may be coming perhaps as little as next 90 days. So take advantage of the time you've got to prepare. Get your free gold report now at TurleyTalksLikesGold.com. So obviously, President Trump releasing the Biden-Hur tapes is only going to further hammer in the last nail for the legacy media's credibility, particularly Joe Scarborough's. They knew it. Scarborough knew it. They all knew it. They knew they had a puppet in the White House. They knew they had a weekend at Bernie's presidency. They knew they had gotten that puppet elected. And they knew that if the truth ever got out, if the real state of Biden's failing mental faculties ever got out, having been covered up so deliberately by the legacy media for years, They knew that would shatter whatever was left of their already fractured credibility. And that's exactly what's about to happen when Trump releases these tapes. Speaking of shattered credibility, Bernie Sanders is literally falling all over himself again. Bernie, of course, was caught red-handed flying around on private jets, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on private jet travel to go, ironically, to stop the oligarchy rallies. You can't make this stuff up. He and AOC traveled on private jets to political rallies where he bashed the rich, you know, people who get to fly on private jets. Well, Brett Baier confronted him on it. And let's just say Sanders didn't do himself any favors.
You know, Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No. It doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And you...
Ouch. I mean, seriously, ouch. Doubling down. I mean, Bernie, do you even hear yourself? So what you're doing is too important for you to wait in line like normal people? I mean, you heard him yourself. You think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting with 30,000 people? Do you renounce the onesies? I mean... Yeah, are you going to be sitting and waiting in line at United? You mean like the rest of us have to do? I mean, again, we could title this video Tales of Shattered Credibility. Bernie Sanders, as it's now widely known, lives a rather opulent lifestyle. Traveling on private jets is just the beginning. He owns 3 homes. He owns one in Burlington, Vermont. He owns, again, not rents, he owns one in D.C., and he has apparently a very nice, very luxurious waterfront vacation home. And he's the very definition of controlled opposition. He claims to be independent, but whenever the Democrat leadership has told him to cool it, to cut it out, even to bow out of a primary race, he should have won twice, a presidential primary race. He should have won twice, once with Hillary and the other one with Joe. He obeyed like a little lapdog. Gang, you don't get rich in D.C. like Bernie has without playing the game. And he is a champion. He plays the game just like anyone else. So this whole persona that he's somehow standing up to the oligarchy, standing up to the establishment. I mean, give me a break. He is the establishment. He is the oligarchy. He is a modern-day aristocrat who despises the very people he claims to represent. The only thing that he and the legacy media are ultimately standing up against is their own shredded credibility. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here.